Oh, we on? Welcome to Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Poole Harding. And tonight, we have a very special guest. This basketball head is a Forest Hills High School great, all-city performer, and honorable mention McDonald's All-American. After he graduated Forest Hills, he accepted a scholarship to play his college basketball at the University of Texas El Paso for the legendary Hall of Fame coach, Dan Haskins. At UTEP, he racked up 1,000 career points. When his playing days was over at UTEP, he immersed himself back into the basketball culture of New York City. This basketball head worked as program director for Aim High, a coach for Big Apple Basketball Incorporated, and as rec assistant for Kaplan House, a facility for young men in foster homes. He then became the director for 2 centers for the Police Athletic League of New York. And in between the times of 2006 and 2012, he was the athletic director for the New Heights youth programs, while building strong relationships within the New York City metropolitan community. This caught the attention of college coaches throughout the country. Between his 2 terms with New Heights, he spent a year at St. John's University as programs head team manager and video coordinator. His next move was Florida International in 2012 to 2013, helping the team notch 18 wins and achieve the program's first winning season in 13 years. New York City, that's what we do. He then took the assistant coaching job with the University of Minnesota for a few years before moving on to his current position at the University of Connecticut as the associate head coach. Big things happening for this basketball head. Without further ado, help me welcome to the show, Forest Hill High School and Texas El Paso great, and now associate head coach at the University of Connecticut, Kimani Young.
Y'all ready? Yes. You have just stepped out into the world of chaos, where everybody goes hard. Come on. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Or go home. Never back down. You gotta hold your own. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. Go hard. East Coast. Go hard. West Coast. Go hard. Midwest. Go hard. Dirty. Hurry up, everybody. Get online, buy your tickets, cause the game about to start.
Hey, what's happening?
What's going on, man? How we doing?
I'm doing well, my brother, doing well. First of all, I want to say congratulations to you and all your success, my brother.
Thank you. Appreciate that, man.
For sure. You're making us proud out here, man.
Yes, sir. Still got a lot of work to do.
Oh, for sure. This is just the beginning, man. This is just the beginning for you.
You know it.
So we like to roll right into this. I always like to ask all my guests, who introduced you to the game?
I started playing at a young age, man. I grew up in Harlem originally, so, that's just what we did growing up on the playgrounds and, got involved with the gauchos and the bathhouse and just fell in love with the game, man, and moved to Queens. Vincent Smith was a, huge mentor of mine growing up who really introduced me to, using basketball as a tool to get to college and pursue your dreams beyond that. So, if it is one person I can truly give a ton of credit to with falling in love with the game and using the game to create a life for myself, it'd be him.
Wow. So I think you're like the 4th person. We had Chibs up here, and we had Jason up here as well.
Mm-hmm.
Jason Gilliam Alexander,
Yeah.
and now yourself, who talk highly of Vincent Smith. I know the work he's been doing for a long time, so salute to Vincent. and everything he's done for New York City basketball.
Yeah, we all family. You know, me, Kenny, his brother, Big Kenny, you know, Jason. I mean, the list goes on and on. So we all part of that same Aim High family.
There you go. So, so I guess once you got with once you got with Vincent, you started to take the game a little bit more serious.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, because being around Vince, that you was around Kenny, you was around Big Kenny, and you seeing these guys every day. We grew up in the same neighborhood. You know, we in the gym together every day. So to see those guys, you know, just to be so close to them and watch them just ascend and you know, in the basketball world was influential. You know, you felt like you could do it. You felt like you could earn a scholarship, and you felt like you can become a pro or you know, chase your dream in the game because you were watching people right in front of you doing it every day. So yeah, definitely being around Vince and you know, that family that he created was huge.
Wow, that's real, yo. That's real. Let me my resident artist just came in, Jamel Powell. Think you got something nice for you. You already did it? It's done? Oh, I'm about to say that. I think you just do something. That makes it wrong. All right, so when you was coming up in Harlem, before you moved to Queens, right? We're talking about Harlem for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Who was the best player in the neighborhood before you moved on to Queens?
I mean, you know, I watched Yoda play.
Yoda.
I watched Yoda play. I watched, you know, Dave Kane, Adrian Autry, Charnel Scott. I mean, the list goes on and on, man. I remember watching games on 135th and Lenox, Walter Berry. I mean, it was, I mean, you know, Predator. I mean,
you got the chance to see a nice group, man.
Yeah.
Those guys, you talk about legendary, man.
I saw Terminator score 80 points in a game. You know what I mean? Like, it's unreal. Like,
and this is before Kobe's 80, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely. So seeing that up close, that was inspiring.
Wow, that's crazy. So when the transfer from Harlem to Queens is when you really start to take the game and embrace the game.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
That happened in Queens, right?
Absolutely. You know, in Harlem, nobody really was working on their game. We just played. You know,
they just played. Gotcha.
You know, we played in the parks. You know, we chased games, we chased tournaments. But in Queens, you know, that's where I really realized, like, no, you got to work on your game. You got to put time into your craft. You got to spend time in the gym. You know, whether it's shooting, ball handling, learning the fundamentals. That would, you know, I would say that was probably the biggest difference. You know, when I moved to Queens.
All right, so what tournaments, right? And the parks. Let's talk about the parks for a minute. What parks did you catch the most rec at in Queens? What parks was the parks to play in if you wanted to get your game right?
I mean, you know, Citywide was the big one at Hoffman Park. You know, IS8, Ajax Park, Paisley Park. I mean, you know, we play everywhere. Woodside Projects, Queensbridge Projects. You know, we play everywhere. Literally, we would have 4 or 5 games in a day, and it was nothing. You know, growing up in Left Rack City, we was in the park all day, you know, till the lights went out. So,
okay. So you know my guy Atif Akins?
Atif. That sounds familiar.
Yeah, he from Left Rack. And my guy right here, resident artist Jamel Powell, he played at Jackson for the legendary coach Chuck Granby. Both of them played for Granby, actually. So that whole Queens connection, like to keep that going on. So in Forest Hills, listen, let's give respect where respect's due. And I don't think a lot of people know this. Forest Hill won PSAL's first city championship ever. Record? Hey, what's up? Welcome back, Coach.
I'm back.
Yeah. So what I was saying is, In 1903, Flushing won New York City's first PSL championship.
Flushing?
Flushing. And I thought I made a mistake. I said Forest Hills. I thought it was Forest Hills, but it was Flushing. I had to go check. So I want to correct that error. It wasn't Forest Hills. It was Flushing.
All right.
In 1903. Yes.
Shout out to Flushing High School.
But there was no, they didn't play against anyone. They said the runner-up was no one.
Maybe the school is no longer in existence.
Maybe. In 1904, there was no city champion. And 1905, that's when Clinton and Boyce High kind of took over in Stuyvesant.
Okay.
You know, but that's another part of history.
Mm-hmm.
So, now, you're at Forest Hills. What other schools did you think about going to before Forest Hills, or Forest Hills was the zone school?
Yeah. Well, not actually my zone school. My zone school was John Bound High School. But, you know, if you were serious about basketball and you grew up in Left Rack City and you didn't go to a Catholic school, you know, you found a way to get to Forest Hills. So, you know, really good coach, Coach Erwin Isaac did a really good job. There was a, you know, tradition at Forest Hills, you know, with Ernie Grunfeld and Kenny Patterson and the Jennings family. So, you know, that's where I decided to go play high school.
And your transition year to year, did you play for your freshman year on?
Now, my freshman and sophomore year, I went to a boarding school, you know, up here in New England. I went to Governor Dummer Academy my first 2 years.
Okay, I know about that, yeah.
Yeah, and then, you know, just decided that I needed to be closer to home and get back to the city, and you know, I finished at Forest Hills.
You know, Coach, I want to go back because I know a few of your players is checking in, and I know a lot of times when you're a coach, they looking at you as just a coach, and they'll realize that you took the same path and took the same step to get to where they're at right now.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So it's definitely, you know, I definitely want to go through that so they can hear about your past and, you know, your steps to get to where you at right now. And then for all the young people to be inspired.
Yeah, absolutely, man. I mean, the game could create tremendous opportunities for you if you utilize it the right way. You know, and I'm a perfect example of that. You know I wouldn't be in a position I'm in today if, you know, I didn't go through those experiences as a player, and now be able to rely on them as I learn and teach the game as a coach. So, you know, all my experiences growing up playing in New York City have helped me get to this point and continue to help me as a coach.
Cool. So who are some of the guys that was on your team? Give them some shine right now, Coach, because I know they see you coaching on TV, and they proud of you. You know, those guys that you played with and was in the locker room with back in those Forest Hills days. I
mean, you know, whether it was high school or AAU, like I'm still extremely close with a lot of my former players. A former teammate, excuse me. So, you know, you mentioned Jason. He's a year or two older than me, but we grew up together. I grew up watching him play. We're still very close. Stacy Castle, you know, was a big name growing up in New York City. We played together.
Yeah.
Burton, Maurice Brown. I mean, the list.
My man Fresh. We had him on, definitely.
Yeah, that's family. We stay in touch. We still talk all the time. You know, a lot of the players that I grew up playing with got sons now that's playing that I'm following, you know, and hopefully recruit someday. A.D. Gaffney, who I watched growing up, you know, who played at Malloy and went out to Portland. You know, I recruited his son to come to UConn. He's playing for us right now. So,
wow, look at that. Full circle. Salute to my guy, Dolphins Gaffney. Yes.
Yeah, those relationships are, you know, extremely important, and that's why we do it.
That's real, man. That's real. So when you was coming up, Coach, being an all-seated performer, you was giving guys the business. Who was some of the guys that gave y'all team the fits?
I mean, listen, man, there was a lot of good players growing up. You know, we played against Grady in high school, so I played against Mo, one of my best friends. I mean, Mitch Burton at Jamaica was a really good play. He led the city in scoring his senior year. You know, Charles Jones, just, I mean, listen, we'll be here all night, man. You know, Reggie Freeman, you know, Kareem Reed. It's just Kareem Porter was a good friend of mine that played at Christ the King, played for Riverside, big time player. You know, Jamal Robinson at McClancy went down to Virginia. I mean, it was,
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I had him on the show. Definitely, Jamal, my
yeah,
guy.
you know, the game was it was good players everywhere from every borough. You know, Ed Booger Smith, Stephon Marbury, and Rafe Alston were young players. Dwayne 40 Woodward. I mean, the list goes on and on, man. Everywhere you went, every high school game, every summer league, every AAU game, you were definitely going to be playing against some good competition in the city.
Wow. And listen, my guy, Shane Nappy Drisdom is on. Listen, that's been my friend for over 30 years. He never comes on the show to check people out. He's on right now saying, my dude, right?
Yeah.
So definitely.
Nah, Big Shane, I grew up watching him play. You know, I looked up to him, you know, so, you know, Conrad McCray, God bless the dead, Malik Sealy, God bless the dead. I mean, it was just like, you know, the game, Lee Green, you know, Dave Edwards, just so many good players throughout the city that you grow up watching that really inspire you, that want you to be good. You know, I used to play up at St. John's in the summertime, and it was, I mean, you know, Mark Jackson, Chris Mullen, Jason Williams, Walter Berry, you know, Adrian Autry. Like, it was just like who's who. And I was in high school at the time. So just to be able to play against that type of competition gave me, you know, the ultimate confidence when I was playing against guys my age. And that's what the game is about. That's what the city is about.
And a lot of guys that come on here say that those same sentiments as far as playing with the older guys, which allowed them to get better. And then when they was playing with guys their age, the game kind of came easy to them. You know, it was like a rite of passage for all of us to go outside and play in the park and kind of wait your turn or play yourself in position to where you're going to get picked to play in those games.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, when I got involved with youth basketball and AAU basketball, I never understood, like, you know, the whole thing with the grades and the age, and because I never played that way. You know what I mean? When I was 12, I was playing 14 and under. When I was 14, I was playing 16 and under. When I was 16, I was playing 18 and under. When I was 18, I was playing unlimited. You know what I mean? Like, it was, I never understood that, you know? And that's what I tried to do when I was running programs and coaching young teams. And we were always going to play against the best competition we could find because I knew that would only make them better.
Oh man, we gonna get into that whole process, man, because wow, it's kind of crazy right now. So let's talk about your last 2 years of high school and then how you became heavily recruited and ended up at Texas El Paso. You know, coming from Forest Hills. You know, what did you do your last 2 years to put yourself in that position?
I mean, you know, listen, man, I had a great coach that put me in position to be successful. I lived in the gym. I always worked on my game. I was always trying to find ways to get better. You know, I went to LIU my first year out of high school. It's funny, Naclario sent me a post he put up a couple weeks ago, and he was right. You know, he helped me earn my scholarship at LIU. I was underrecruited coming out of the city. There was so many good players coming out of the city at that time. It wasn't like now. There was no Twitter. There was no, you know, Instagram. There weren't all these media outlets. Like, you know, the top players got heavily recruited, and you know, a lot of people, you know, didn't. And you know, I got an opportunity at LIU, put up some numbers as a freshman there, and was able to earn opportunities to be recruited as a transfer. You know, I visited Rhode Island. I visited St. Joe's. I visited the University of Houston, and I visited, you know, Texas El Paso, and decided that that's where I wanted to go to school and finish the rest of my college career.
What made you want to transfer LIU? Doing so well.
I just thought, I wanted more of I just wanted a more holistic college experience. I wanted to get away from home. I felt like being so close to home wasn't allowing me to grow as a young person. You know what I mean? I was racing home every weekend, still hanging out with the same friends. I just wanted to do something bigger, I visited Texas, El Paso, and that program was in a good position at the time. Eddie Rivera was just finishing up his senior year. They were coming off a Sweet 16 run, and I just went out there and saw all the rich history and tradition and wanted to be a part of it.
Wow, that's awesome, man. So when you got to Texas El Paso, did you see it fit your playing style as well?
Yeah, absolutely, man. The coach Don Haskins, is a Hall of Fame coach. He was a tough, hard-nosed, defensive-minded coach, but he he gave you freedom on offense as long as you defended. So, I felt like I could go there and be a part of winning and be a part of something that was bigger than myself, and it worked out that way.
Now, your transition from Northeast Conference to playing in Texas El Paso, what was the difference? Because I played at FDU, so I understand.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's a higher level of competition. When I was in college, we were playing against pros every night. Kenny Thomas was at New Mexico. Keith Van Horn, Andre Miller, Michael Doliak was at Utah. It was just every night, that you were playing against tough competition. There were great coaches in that league. But I felt like I was ready for it. Just coming from New York City, I played against tougher competition than that. So there was no fear. There was no, I felt like that's where I belonged as a player.
Wow. The great Bobby Hunter, Globetrotter great, gave you props, pleasure, great builder of any young basketball player.
Yeah, I mean those
salute to you, brother.
Yeah, those summer games, man, like you never forget. I'm 47 now, and I was 18, and I never forgot those. I never forgot those games. Those battles. Tariq Turner, who's become a best friend of mine, we're still close 30 years later. Just playing. I remember watching Ron Artest as a freshman coming in and battle with Jason Williams, who was like a 10-year NBA veteran. Those are the games that you just don't forget, and those are the training sessions and the bonds that you build that last a lifetime.
When your name come up, as I talk to a few of my basketball luminaries in New York City, when your name comes up, it's always positive. I've yet to hear somebody say anything negative about you and your roster success. So that goes along saying, because a lot of guys, they hate, they say bad things, and sometimes it's justified. Who cares? Whatever the case. But in your case, I didn't hear anything, brother, for sure.
Yeah.
I was on the phone with Bud last night for about half hour, 45 minutes, talking about you and all the great things you've been doing so far. So,
Bud, that's family. I like to think that I'm a huge part of his success, and he's a huge part of mine. We kind of started out at the same time when he took the job over at Jefferson. I was just building Asst Carter. We used the gym there. That was home base for a year, or two. Great friend of mine. I'm super proud of him as a high school coach. He's doing great things. Built that program into a national powerhouse, and putting kids in college and winning at the same time is definitely a great accomplishment. I watched him do it from day one. I remember going in that gym. There was no paint on the walls. And then what I mean? I go in there now.
First of all, I remember playing in that gym when it looked like a prison.
Yeah,
exactly. Definitely in the 80s.
Yeah, so to see what he's done with that program, it's definitely a testament to his hard work and all the effort he's put into that. shout out to Sheldon Jefferson as well. Seld,
Yeah,
that's
yes,
right hand
definitely.
man. He's been there from day one. So, I definitely have watched what those two have done there. And to go back to your comment about, people speaking highly of me, it's funny. Like, I think that's just who you are as a person. Your personality. I always like to be around people. I always like to meet new people. I always love being around the game and being in the gyms and building those relationships. Whether you gain something from them or not, you never know. And now as a coach, to be able to, rely on those relationships it's been a blessing. Coach Hurley and I joke about it all the time. He says, "Kimani, you have too many friends." I'm like, well, if I didn't have a lot of friends, then I wouldn't be able to do the job that I do,
Right.
for you. So, I think you should, we laugh about it because it's just one of those things that, I think has helped me along the way.
Yeah, I think when you work with people, building relationships is key. I've been working with kids for over 20 years, and that's been my strength, is to build those relationships so I can get past the clutter to get to teach that child or
Yeah.
give them those lessons. So building relationships is definitely key.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
I'm gonna come back to college real quick, right? Because I don't want to lose where we at with Bud. Bud said to ask you, back in the days, you couldn't coach AAU if you didn't go through Dwayne Tiny Moore.
You couldn't coach AAU if you didn't go through Dwayne Tiny Moore?
Yes.
That's a question?
Yes.
I mean, listen, when we got...
If Bud, if I'm not phrasing it right, rewrite it and I'll ask it again.
Yeah. Nah, Tiny, listen, man, Tiny understood the business of basketball before any of us. You know what I mean? Grassroots basketball. He just understood, how to maximize the potential of the business of basketball for himself and for young people, by creating opportunities for them, and I was fortunate enough that I got introduced to grassroots basketball through Tiny and through Juice All Stars, and just being exposed to that, to that side of it. I saw a path for a career for myself. I remember going to we went to Bob Gibbons. That was the first AAU trip I had ever been on as a coach. And, just to see all the coaches there and the media attention and the scouts. And I said to myself, I think I could find a path to a career in this business. I knew I loved the game. I knew I could teach the game. I got along well with young people. I was already, in youth development. So I just saw, like, wait a minute, if I get into high school coaching and then maybe into college coaching, I could create like I could create a career path for myself, and that's what I set out to do.
Nice.
But Bud is right. Bud is right. Without Tiny, I know I wouldn't have been introduced to that, to that kind of opportunity. So shout out to Tiny.
Oh yeah, for sure. And listen, we wouldn't have won that city championship in '86 if Tiny wasn't our point guard at Lincoln.
Yeah.
Trust me.
No doubt. Tiny, listen, I owe Tiny a lot, man. He was our point guard at LIU my freshman year. You know what I mean? And I'll never forget, we was coming back from a road game, and he was like, "Yo, you got to get out of here." You know what I mean? Like his quote was, "This ain't the first stop, this your last stop." You know what I mean? So, I'll never forget that conversation. We still super close to this day. I saw his son. He was at our Seton Hall game the other day. So that's definitely family.
Definitely. So we just want to talk about his influence on the city. And, I know he's not coaching anymore. Do you see him making a resurgence back in the city?
I mean, that's all up to Tiny, man. If Tiny wants to be a high school coach again, he could do it. If he wants to get in college again, he could do it. If he wants to, you know, go to the NBA, whatever. You know, Tiny, listen, man, he's been around the game a long time. He knows the game. He could teach the game. He's extremely smart. You know, I don't. That's one guy I never have to worry about. You know, I never got to worry about him. He's always going to create opportunity for himself, and you know, and make the most of it.
That's real. Salute. Salute. So, playing for Coach Haskins, the legendary Don Haskins, how has playing for him helped you become a better head coach?
I just think, like, you know, his just his toughness. You know, that was the key. You know, because even coming out of New York, I don't think I was the toughest player. I think I was a good player, but you know, I was more skilled than toughness. And going to play for him, I realized how important, you know, being tough was, and being mentally tough and physically tough, and be able to overcome adversity, you know, through the game and through life. You know, that's something that I've always carried with me, and it's something that, you know, I employ on the players that I coach to this day.
Yeah, just one of the things that's always echoing when your name come up is he's going to be running a big time program one day. Trust me, national championship type stuff. So, you know, you got a lot of people in your corner, brother.
Yeah, I appreciate that.
No doubt. So, walk me through your best game at Texas El Paso, and what was that like? Because, brother, you put up 1,000 points, man, and you was only there 3 years.
Yeah. You know, I could get a bucket now. You know.
That's what I'm saying right there. Kids need to hear that. So when Coach Young talking to you about something, not only he knows the X's and O's, he did it and knows how to do it. So definitely.
I mean, listen, man, coming out of New York, you know, that's you gotta be able to score. You know, you gotta be able to score. And you know, I tell people all the time that, you know, the ball scores. You know what I mean? Like, at the end of the day, like, you gotta have more points than the other team. You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
you know, and I say it all the time. If you can't shoot, you can't play. So, you know, shooting is still, you know, still a fundamental of the game. It's what the game is built on. So, you know, they were good games along the way, man. You know, 29 at New Mexico State. You know, I never broke 30 in college, but, you know, had 29 a couple times. You know, averaged close to 20 as a senior. You know, it's just I took what the defense gave me, and I did what it took to help my team win. So, you know, all those accomplishments are great, you know, but it just it is what it is. You know, I moved on. That's a part of my life that I'm proud of. But now, as a coach, my job is to help young people, you know, achieve their goals and dreams, and I pour everything I got into that.
Definitely, man. We definitely gonna get into the coaching world, man. So
Shout out to my man Abdul Fox. He just got on.
for sure. Abdul Fox for sure was on the show.
Yeah, another guy.
Yeah, I had all you guys on, man.
Yeah, absolutely. That's family right there.
Definitely. So this is the James Majors question, right? I promise I'll ask this for every guy. At Texas El Paso, when you guys went on road trips, what was the meal money like?
I don't even remember, man. I don't even remember. It was funny. When we traveled on the road, we traveled with partners in that league. So let's say we were going to play Utah and BYU. We would travel with New Mexico. So let's say on Thursday we play Utah, New Mexico plays BYU, and then on Saturday we would flip. So, you know, we would hang out on the road. I got to know a couple of those guys really well. Really.
Hold on. Time out. You was playing college basketball, and you guys was traveling with the other team?
Yeah, we would travel together. So, you know, we would stay at the same hotel. You know, we would be on the same flights. It was, you know, that's just the way the league was set up.
Now this is all new to me. This is why I tell my guys I ask certain questions because how things was in my league or my conference or the Big East may be different somewhere else.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Now I've never heard of that before.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we were travel partners.
Wow.
When we went to
Well, James Major said when they would go cross country, that PJ Carlissimo was giving these guys $5 each. And they was calling McDonald money. Now, I'll play that Fairleigh Dickinson. We went to the West Coast for a week or something. We got a couple of $100. And all this stuff is legal because it's within a budget.
Mm-hmm.
Right? My coach broke this down to me, and I never understood how college basketball worked. When we scheduled a game with Wake Forest gave my school $80,000.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't understand that.
Yeah.
I was like, Coach, why are schools giving each other money? He said, well, that's the way college basketball works. They're actually paying us for 2 wins.
Yeah, they call it buy games. That still goes on now. You know?
Say it again. It's called what?
They call buy games. You know, they call guaranteed
Look at
games
that.
or buy games because you're basically paying for a guaranteed win. You know what I mean?
And if you lose, then you're upset, correct?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
And that's where the word upset comes in.
Absolutely.
Wow. Coach, you're the first guy that able to connect the dots from that. I never knew it was buy games.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I appreciate that.
To this day.
Look at that.
Shaheen Holloway, a good friend of mine, he mad at me because we won't play them in a buy game anymore. You know what I mean? We played them 2 years ago and we only won by 16. I said, Shah, you play too hard. You're supposed to come in here and lose by 20 if you want us to play you again.
Because this is what it is. Mm-hmm. Yo, Coach, very informative, man. Very informative. Wow. So now you leave Texas, El Paso, and you got to come back to the real world.
Absolutely.
How was your adjustment and what transition did you have to make?
Yeah, it was tough, man. It was tough. You know, you grow up all your life wanting to become a pro. You know, you want to, you know, whether it's in the NBA or overseas, and you know, you don't think about life after basketball for a lot of us until it's too late. You know, and that's something that happened to me. You know, and I had to go through some real adversity and some obstacles I had to overcome before I realized what I wanted to do with my professional life. Fortunate enough for me, I was able to, you know, get my feet under me and get into youth development and you know, find a path that way. But, you know, for a lot of people, it doesn't always work out that way.
Yeah, the transition from ball to the real world is tough for a lot of us ball players because you go into positions and people want to know what your experience is, and you like, I've been practicing and playing basketball. Yeah. Some people don't want to hear that. And then emotionally, it's tough, that transition. Yeah. Not being able to get up and exercise and look forward to those games and fulfilling those expectations. So definitely, man. And you did it the hard way, man. So this is why I think people revere you a lot and they give you a lot of love because they see the steps you had to take to get to where you are.
Mm-hmm. No, I mean, listen, man, you know, you grow up playing the game from a little kid. You know, for a lot of us, we started playing, we were 6, 7 years old. We're on a team. You know, you're part of a group. You know, if you're fortunate enough to go to school and get a scholarship and go to college, like, you know, everything is given to you. You know, everything is given to you. You know, you travel and you stay in nice hotels. You know, you become addicted to the roar of the crowd. And you know, life is good, you know, and you're doing something you love to do. But, you know, once your career ends and you got to make that transition, you had no experience on what that's going to be like. You know, for a lot of us, we didn't have coaches that were helping prepare us for that. You know, they just didn't. The game was different. You know, it was, you know, go to school, get your education. If you're good enough to play when you're done, so be it. If not, you just got to find a way to, you know, get a job. And, you know, for me, I just wasn't ready for it. You know, as soon as I was done playing. And It took some time, but I found my way.
Yeah, listen, let me go back real quick because the process that you took, brother, I'm talking about from Aim High, Big Apple Coach, Kaplan House, Police Athletic League, New Heights, you know, then over to St. John's, starting out, you know, as the team manager, video coordinator. Brother, there's not a part of basketball you haven't seen, except, you know, the upper echelons of the NBA, which is, you know, you've seen it all.
Yeah. Nah, listen, man. When you know, my first job was at the Kaplan House. That was my first real job. It was a foster care facility on the Lower East Side. Um, you know, I was there. I created a therapeutic recreation program where I would take dudes to games. I was still playing at the time, so I would take them to my games. Um, you know, I would take them to car shows and Knick games, and you know, just trying to expose them to things that they'd never had as a child because they were in foster care. You know, and there was some guys in there that wanted to play, that liked playing. I was like, you know what? Maybe I create a little team. You know, we'll find other facilities to play against. We would practice once a week on Sundays at LaSalle Academy. It was right down the street. And that was my first introduction to coaching. You know, I never had any idea that I even wanted to coach, but I enjoyed it. I took on another job at the same time with the Police Athletic League. I started up at Webster in the Bronx. You know, I moved to another facility in Brooklyn, the Mickey O Center. That's where I reconnected with Tiny, and he was using the gym to practice, and we started a tournament. You know, we called it you know, it was like the ISA to Brooklyn. You know, we had all the top players, all the top teams from the city. Um, you know, again, it became a place where a lot of kids would come work out. I would work a lot of the kids out. Irvin Walker, Truck Bryant, you know, the list goes on, and that's where, you know, I started taking coaching seriously. So, you know, all those experiences is giving me the experience I need to do what I'm doing now. You know, when you coach in high school, when you coaching, you know, at Rice, and you know, all the different AAU programs I worked with, all the way to New Heights, like it's like invaluable experience that, you know, you're gaining by doing that. You know, I ran practices. I had to have tough, you know, individual meetings. I had to, you know, meet with parents, and you know, all those experiences helped me to get to this point, and you know, allow me to do what I'm doing now.
Wow. So let's talk about your job as assistant coach, right? And let's start with the most important piece is getting to know the student athlete, their family, and the people around them. How important is that?
It's everything, man. You know, it's everything. It starts in the recruiting process. You know, you're introducing yourself to these families that ultimately are going to be putting, you know, their children's, you know, dreams in your hands. So those relationships have got to be strong. And you got to understand them. They got to understand you and what your program is about and what your role is as an assistant. It's something I take extremely seriously, and something I love to do.
I was at FDU, right? And from 88 to 92. And we saw a lot of assistant coaches. They was using FDU as a revolving door to better jobs.
Mm-hmm.
And also we saw that a lot of the assistant coaches that would come will play favoritism to the person that they recruit. Do a lot of that still go on to this day?
I'm sure it does. You know, it hasn't been you know, my blueprint. You know, every job that I've ever had in basketball, I've made it a point to focus on that job. Like even when I was an AAU coach, I never looked ahead. Like when I was running the New Heights program, I never once thought about going to college. You know, now you know, eventually those opportunities presented themselves, but that wasn't something that I was waking up every day looking for the next thing. You know, when I was an assistant at FIU, I felt like I was going to be there at least 4 or 5 years.
Mm.
You know, I never looked at, oh, I'm gonna just use this as a job to get somewhere else. I'm like, no, let's build FIU into a winner, and then other opportunities will come. You know, some of those opportunities come sooner than later. You know, we got the opportunity to go to Minnesota. When I was at Minnesota, I thought I'd be there for the rest of my career. I never even thought about what was next. You know, I was so, loyal to Richard Pitino and so thankful for the opportunity he gave me. I was committed to that. You know, fortunately, you know, Danny, who I had a relationship with through grassroots, and she was a high school coach. You know, he got the job here and offered me opportunity to get closer to home and be at at a national brand like UConn. It's an opportunity I couldn't turn down, but it was never something that I was looking for. You know, and even now with the kids that you know I've recruited here and that we coach here, you gotta love them all the same. You know, because kids are smart. You know, they know. I'm probably harder on the guys that I recruit than I am on the guys that I didn't recruit. Just so everybody knows where I stand. Like this is about UConn. It's about winning. It's not about, you know, me or what I'm trying to do.
And that's the sign of a great coach, man. One of your biggest recruits heading into Minnesota was Isaiah Washington. Is he still playing at Iona?
No, he's at Long Beach State.
Long Beach State.
Yeah.
He get a chance to get a fresh new start, different situation.
Yeah.
How well you think he's going to do now that he's out there?
I think he's playing well. You know, I've watched his stats. He's playing well. You know, so you know, I'm happy for him. I'm always rooting for him. You know, it didn't work out. You know, it didn't work out in Minnesota, but you know, hopefully, you know, he had a good season at Iona last year, and hopefully he's having, you know, it sounds like he's having a good year at you know, at Long Beach State. I hope he graduates and you know, continue to pursue his dream to be a professional player. I know he wants to play professional. He's got the talent to do it. It's just got to all come together for him.
That's real. So now that the transfer portal is on overload, right? How does this affect high school recruiting? And I read somewhere that Kentucky, the state of Kentucky, is giving all their kids another year.
Yeah. Yeah, the whole transfer thing is a tough one, man. You know, because you know, a lot of college programs, they want to get old and stay old. So, you know, some programs have adopted the formula of just trying to build their program on transfers. You know, getting older players that are experienced, that are, you know, physically and you know, just emotionally more mature than a high school player is, and maybe they can help them win quicker. That's not the way we want to do it here. You know, we want to build our program on, you know, top high school talent. And if there's a role where we need a transfer to come in and fit a role, we will. You know, it's worked for us. We brought in R.J. Cole. He was a transfer, you know, who's played well for us. But he kind of fit what we did. You know, he fit our culture, and it's worked out well for him. But that's not always the case.
Do you think it's fair that Kentucky is giving their kids a whole year back, and you think the rest of the state should follow?
I mean, I think so, man. With the pandemic, it's been impossible for us to, you know, go out and evaluate talent. I'm sure a lot of kids are missing out on those opportunities. You know, there's been no real high school seasons. There's been no AAU seasons. It's been tough, you know. So I'm sure that there's thousands of kids across the country that aren't being afforded those scholarship opportunities that they would be in a normal year. So given an opportunity to play another year of high school, hopefully all this stuff goes the way. We can return to some normalcy here soon. You know, those will give those guys guys and girls those opportunities that they need and deserve.
I could imagine being in high school right now playing ball at Lincoln or MCI, and they said we can't play. It'd be just tragic.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. It's just tough. It's tough for us too. You know, we're recruiting guys like, you know, that we haven't really seen a ton. You know, that we haven't been able to get out to their homes and meet with their families and bring them on campus for visits. You know, fortunately for us, the guys that we recruited in this class, we have built a long relationship with them because we got on them, you know, as sophomores and you know, we were able to evaluate them at the level that we knew they can come in and help our program. But I don't think that's the same across the board.
Okay. Abdul Fox said, "Do you think the NCAA will ever come around and pay the athletes?"
I mean, I don't know, man. You know, I got mixed feelings about that. Like, I do think there's, you know, ways that we can create a quality of life for you know, student athletes. But once you start paying them, you know, they're professionals, you know, and that's not what colleges of athletics is about. You know, now, you know, a lot of kids, they qualify for Pell Grant, which is a substantial amount of money every semester. A lot of you know, scholarships include a monthly stipend. That's money in their pocket. And then you got the cost of attendance, which helps with everything else that your scholarship doesn't cover. You know, whether it's, you know, clothing, getting back home, you know, doing your laundry. I mean, at a lot of places, it's a substantial amount of money. You know, so it's not like when we was coming up where, you know, if moms ain't sent us $100, we wasn't eating. You know what I mean?
Yeah, done. Yes.
It's different now. These kids, they live a pretty good life. You know what I mean? Like, I look in our, you know, the dorms that they stay in, these ain't normal dorms. You know what I mean? Like, they in, like, you know, luxury housing. You know what I mean? And it's like that all around the country. You see some of these, you know, sports specific dorms that these guys stay in. It's unreal. You know, so it's a fine line, you know, and I think that, listen, if you're a pro and you want to start your career as a pro out of high school, then so be it. You should be allowed to do that. But if you go to college, you know, it should be about, you know, getting your education, being part of an institution, you know, and growing as a person and as a player.
That's real. That's real. What's your take on reclassing back?
When you're in high school, yeah, that's a tough one, man. You know, I don't know, man. I've seen a lot of people it work for, you know. I don't know if it sent the right message, but, you know, I've seen players that have gone through 4 years of high school and maybe they need a postgraduate year to get stronger, create some, you know, get better as a player. And maybe you're going into college more ready. I get that. But reclassing kids in middle school and junior high school, I've never been a real fan of that. You know, I just...
Fifth grade reclassing, sixth grade reclassing,
Yeah.
seventh grade reclassing.
Yeah.
Now you playing 10 and under.
Yeah, it's crazy, man. But that's you know, that's a byproduct of the business of basketball. You know, this game has changed a lot. You know, when we were coming up, you know, the only way you knew about a player was through Street and Smiths. You know what I mean? Like, if it wasn't somebody that in your neighborhood or in your city, you really didn't get to see him or get to, you know, get to know him. But now the game has changed. Like, you know, you got YouTube, you got, you know, Instagram, you got Twitter. So, you know, people are doing
But that comes with the hype.
Yeah.
You know, when you saw a guy or when you read about a guy who was in Street and Smith and you read him kids him on the AAU circuit or in camp, usually 9 times out of 10, Duke was legit.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? But then you see, take for instance, my coach recruited a guy out of Chicago. I'm not gonna say his name. Played at Philly Dickinson. He sent my coach and them a videotape, highlight tape. I'm talking about this dude was like all world.
Mm-hmm.
similar what the YouTube tapes are now, or YouTube videos. Signed him. He got to the school, couldn't do most of the stuff that he was doing on tape in the college scene. And they were upset about that. And made it really tough for him, which was really bad for him because it wasn't his fault. He was just trying to get a scholarship. You know, and I think a lot of times when we looking at these highlights of kids and they can show the best of the best, you know, you gotta know what you're looking for.
Yeah, absolutely. No, that's a big part of it.
You get caught up in the wrong stuff and you're not getting the player that you think you're gonna get.
Yeah, yeah. Evaluating is a big part of it, man. You know, you gotta know what you're looking for. You gotta see, you know, how a player is going to translate to what you're doing, how they're going to project, how they're going to get better. So, you know, it's not an easy job.
Yeah, because in 1983, this tall, lanky, skinny kid who was playing that in the playoffs in Jefferson, who was ineligible most of the year, stepped in the court, and he had peasy head, and sneakers is just almost feet was coming through the sneakers. But he gave us 29, and he was killing Kenny Parker, KRS One brother who played with me at Lincoln, and he was only a freshman. This kid didn't pass the eye test at all. His name was Lloyd Daniels.
Yeah, no doubt.
But we didn't get a chance to see no video of him. He was just straight buckets.
Yeah, exactly. You knew when you saw him.
So sometimes you looking at that eye test, you better be able to evaluate talent.
That's right.
All right. So top 5 players in New York City history.
Kenny Anderson, Lou Alcindor, Pearl Washington,
Woo!
Tiny Archibald.
You got 2 on my list. Okay.
Chris Mullin.
3. That's good. That's good. Yeah, those official right there. I got the 3 that's on my list. Was Lou Alcindor, Chris Mullin, Tiny, Bernard King, and who else was it? Oh, Connie Hawkins.
I mean,
Right.
listen, man, that top 5 is about 20 deep, man. You know
Trust me, you can't go wrong if you picking the right people. You know, I think one show I'm just gonna put out people. I'm just gonna go back and look at the videos and put out everybody's top 5. That'll be fun.
Rod Strickland, Stephon Marbury. I mean,
yeah. It's crazy. I had Rod on the show. I put out, go on YouTube and check out the first video. For all the people that's out there, please go to YouTube and subscribe, please. We just uploaded the first, the trailer for what's going to be. This is the 127th show. So we're going to be rocking and rolling on YouTube. But within that clip, Rod Strickland talks about him coming back to New York City and watching Skip, like purposely going to 155th so he can watch Skip play. Right? Seeing him before he was in the pros. Then seeing him in the pros and watching him make that transition. I don't think guys realize how proud other guys from New York be when they become successful or even get on that level. Because he wasn't sitting back hating. Like I said, oh, when he gave him a bust his ass, he was like, no, this kid earned the right to be here. And not only that, he took the time to make the transition to make sure he can stay here.
Now, listen, man, I played against Skip in high school. I watched him from day one. You know what I mean? Incredible player. And what he was able to do to transition from street ball to the NBA, I mean, we've never seen that before. We probably will never see it again. You know, but that's a guy who loved the game. He lived in the gym, you know, worked on his game, got bigger, got stronger, and created a career for himself. You know, extremely proud of Skip.
Humble brother too, man. Humble brother, man. So before you get out here right now, who are some of the top players in the conference?
In the Big East right now?
Yes.
Well, I got to start with our own player, James Bouknight. You know.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, talent, man. Talent. Very talented dude, man.
What year is he in? What year is he in?
He's a sophomore. He's a sophomore.
You think he got what it takes to go to the next level?
Yeah, it's over, man. It's over, man. It's over. You know.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah, he belongs in that league. You know, he belongs in that league, and he'll get there. You know, Sandro Mamu-Kelishvili, big kid at Seton Hall.
Yes.
You know, really good player. You know, Colin Gillespie and Jeremiah Robinson Earl at Villanova. You know, Creighton Marcus Zagorowski, very good player. You know, you got David Duke and Nate Watson at Providence. You know, Julian Champagne at St. John's, Posh Alexander at St. John's.
Yeah. Watching those guys closely. Yes.
You know, super tough player, man. You know, this is the Big East, man. It's good players every night. So, you know, it's been fun to be a part of this league, be back in this league for the first time in 7 years, and we're excited to keep building this UConn program back to where it belongs.
And salute to you guys being back in the Big East, because I wasn't sure what to ask you in the last question. Me and my guy was trying to figure out, are they back in the Big East or they still in that New American? Because, you know, we're used to you guys being in the Big East. Come on.
Yeah. No, this is our first year back, man, and we're excited to be back. It's been great. You know, we finished in 3rd place this year, which is a huge accomplishment in our first year without James missing, with James missing 8 games. So we're excited about what we've accomplished up to this point, but we still want more.
We excuse me, put up a post yesterday about Terrence Rencher speaking up about his coach making that statement that he made. Yeah. Not going to repeat it, but knowing what I know about Coach McD and his history with players and that apology, it seemed very sincere. But the fact that it was one of our guys from New York City that stepped up and let him know that it wasn't right, I would say big up to my guy Terrence Rencher, man. Just keep standing up for what's right. We appreciate you.
No, definitely, man. You know, I've been on the phone with Terrence every day since that happened. You know, we're extremely close. You know, we have a coaches group that we put together, Coaches for Action, you know, to address all of the social injustice that's going on in the country and in the game of basketball. So it's great to see him step up that way. We all stepped up and supported him. You know, I don't know Coach McDermott personally, but from everything I heard about him, he is a good dude, you know, that made a terrible mistake, and you know, he's got to deal with the consequences that come with that. You know, I feel bad for him. I feel bad for, you know, his players that got to go through that. But, you know, not all mistakes are created equal, man. He's got to pay for that one.
And look, when I heard that he offered to step down from his position, just you know, look, I'm gonna step down because if it's gonna hurt people and be a stain on the kids in the program, he should have stepped down. But look, that's for the university and for them to you know, to see it, not us to be the judges. But I definitely agree, something should be done.
Yeah.
Well, Coach, man, say it's been a pleasure having you on the show. Thank you for helping me facilitate that interview with Coach Mo.
Yes.
Mo Hicks. It went absolutely fabulous. I appreciate that.
We got to get him back in high school, man. We got to get him coaching again.
Definitely. When it's all said and done, got to have these guys back, man, and bring New York back to where it's supposed to be, man. So, you know, you guys have a place to come back to pick these New York guys up, to put them on that level so they can shine.
Absolutely. The city needs them, man.
For sure, man. Yeah. So My brother, I want to say thank you for joining us here at Basketball Heads. Whenever you want to come back on, when you get that big-time coaching job, brother, we're going to make the announcement here. Whatever you have in store, and whenever you want to come back. And also, you get to nominate someone to be on the show.
All right, let's do it.
All right? So hold on. We're not finished yet. Okay, let's see if I can turn this off so you can see it. Because usually my guy has it hanging on the wall. Hold on. Okay, cool. Can you see it?
Yeah, I can see it. Back it up a little bit.
All right.
All right, that's dope, man. That's dope. That's dope.
No doubt.
I love
So
it.
he got you, two pictures of you. You know what I'm saying? Got your name here. It's come from my guy, resident artist Jamel Powell. If you want that, just text me some information. You know what I'm saying? As long as you take care of the packaging, we'll send it out.
I got
Make sure you have it, man. Appreciate you.
All right, let's do it.
All right. Take care, man.
You too.
All right.
Appreciate it, man.
All right. All right. Salute. Thank you guys for joining us at Basketball Heads Live. I'm your host, Glenn Pooh Harding. And thanks and big shout out to my guy, Kimani Young. He's doing big things. Don't forget, wherever he goes, no matter how much success he gets, he represents us, New York City. So we got to stand behind him and all our coaches out there, like my guy, Terrence Rencher. Speaking up, making a change for what's right. With saying that, we are Basketball Heads Live, the official home for New York City basketball. Peace.
Y'all ready?